All right, here we go. This is the NYC Basement Podcast brought to you by Long Step Publishing. I'm your host, Shelley Nicole. And today on the podcast, we have Jamaican-born writer Fiona Zedde. Fiona is the author of several novels, including Lambda Literary Awards finalist Bliss and Every Dark Desire. Her book, Dangerous Pleasures, and was winner of an About.com Reader's Choice Award for Best Lesbian Memoir or Novel. Her latest novel, A Lover's Mercy, is available now. And again, welcome to the show, Fiona Zedde.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. So before we even get into it, you're in Spain. How are things there? Because I know things are wild over here. Are things a little better over there regarding COVID, I should say?
Um, Not really. I mean, maybe a little bit better. We just had some new measures put in place where people can't leave except to go to work and to go to grocery shopping and things like that. Everyone's wearing masks. So I think everywhere is getting worse, or it got better, then worse. And so we're just we're running around just
Right,
basically.
right. Riding the wave like the rest of us, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah. We hope by this time of the year, of course, that things would have been, more controlled, and we got everything under control for a good bit. But I think everyone's just sort of tired of being distanced and not seeing friends and family, and tired of wearing masks. And yeah, it shows with the numbers going up.
Right, right. Well, we got to get it together because, like I said, we might be over Corona, but Corona is not over us.
I we are, yeah.
Is is that, I guess, in this moment, how is it being a creative before we get into the books? But have you felt creative? Have you just sort of said, you know what, I'm giving myself a break? I'm just going to take this moment. How's that been for you?
I mean, I wish I could take a break, but I have all these deadlines that are just sort of coming up back to back to back. And so a lot of things have just been like mind-blowingly like, what?
Mm,
Like to, process everything. And it's been difficult. I am not gonna lie, it's been difficult. So
yeah.
I would have loved to just have some time to sort of like curl into a ball and drink lots of wine and, binge watch, whatever. But I've had to be just plugging away.
Right, right. Well, since you're talking about that and you're talking about your deadlines, I have to say, you really are prolific in terms of the work, and you have a lot of work out. I mean, it's really amazing. So I'm not surprised that you are, on deadline because you have a lot of work under your belt, which is impressive and really amazing. So I'm just going to go back a little bit and say what really began like your love of writing, because you are really, it's in you and it's moving through you quite freely, it's really flowing. So at least it seems that way with the output. Let's put it that way.
Because I feel like I'm not writing enough, I'm not producing enough. And so I'm like, what am I doing? What am I doing? I try to do at least one project a year, but actually I want to do two a year ideally, but with different things being the way they are, it's been difficult. But how did I get started? I don't know.
I know.
I have my sort of true answer, which is just like, I've always just loved like literally like writing, like picking up a pen, paper, pencil, notebook, and just like writing. And then from that became like, I want to tell stories. And I was a big reader. My mom read to me when I was in her belly. And so I think that might have started the whole love of story kind of thing.
Right, absolutely. I think every writer I talk to, of course, always talks about reading as sort of that entry point to writing. So of course, makes perfect sense. So then I'll move it up a little, or down the line a little. When did your professional career get started? Because even though we're always writing, I'm also a writer, so it's like you find yourself, of course, writing through your life. But when was that moment where you were like, you know what, this could be something?
Did I have that moment? Like, I think when I went to college, I wanted to be a lawyer. That was
Mm,
my end game, like to, the whole like Caribbean immigrant dream, like come to this country and make more of yourself than was possible in your birth country. And so I was so focused on that, and then in college, I was like, that's really not for me.
mm,
And so I started to have sort of like not even a backup. It was like a minor versus, an idea that I could really make a living at this. And so struggling through not wanting to go the corporate route or that sort of professional route, and then realizing slowly that it was possible to be creative and make a living at being creative. I mean, not a great living, but it's possible. It's definitely possible.
absolutely.
Yeah, I think my first story was published in like, let me see, maybe 2001 or something like that, and in a short story collection. And
Okay.
then I was like, okay, I can do this. It was published, I was paid, I was excited, and then I said, okay, let's just move forward. And I was working part-time then, and then just keep on with different jobs and publishing and writing, and then it just sort of became itself over time versus just like this one moment of like haha.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I feel like especially when you're changing careers like that, you almost are like, it's like you said, is this gonna work? Let's just do this. Let's see how I feel, and keep moving through it. So yeah, that makes absolute sense. So has your writing always been that of love or romance or, that sort of the storytelling in that vein? You know what I'm saying? Like, was it always there, or was that something that you were like, you know what? I think that this is a niche or a niche that I'm like, I think I could go in and it would be great. Or looking for yourself in your stories, which happens to a lot of people too.
I mean, I grew up on like Harlequin novels. Like I remember when I was like 9 or 10 years old, sneaking my mom's romance novels and finding them and being just like, oh, this is so wild. Too much for me at that age, but I was just like, crazy. This is so beautiful. And some of
Yeah.
the writing was just like, it took me to a whole different place.
Mm.
So yeah, I was like, so those fed me. And I wanted to, like, growing up, I wanted to actually feed people as well, because they helped my vocabulary. They helped me to speak proper English, if you will.
Mm.
They helped me just sort of like fine tune my own way with words, and so that it just seemed natural to go that route, to write romance featuring people like me, queer, Black, immigrant, what have you.
Right. Absolutely. That's so funny you talk about Harlequin novels. I mean, you talk about classic. Like Harlequin has like, through the decades, you know what I'm saying, has been there. So absolutely. I think it's interesting, when I think about like Harlequin novels, most of the time we don't think about, or at least when I was growing up and I knew about Harlequin novels, I was not thinking about Black women, even as a face, you know what I'm saying, in the novels, let alone a writer of those novels. So even though this was something that totally touched you, did you feel like, I don't want to say maybe not feel like, but when you don't necessarily see your face in that world, getting into that world, how was that for you? Just sort of making that entree and being like, okay, I'm doing this.
I mean, it was interesting. Like, it's one thing seeing how things are from the front as a reader, and then you're like, where are people who look like me? Who are people who love like I do?
Yeah.
And so I write for Harlequin now under another name, and so
Mm.
like hearing other stories and seeing other writers, some writers who do look like me but write other kinds of stories, and then slowly working to like say, okay, can we make some sort of a change? And they've been doing a lot of behind the scenes like massaging of how Harlequin looks the last
Mm.
few years. And so if you see some covers now, you're saying, okay, that's better. And so I wrote for Harlequin Kamani, and that was their sort of like their black line, and that was just phased out, I think, a year and a half ago, something like that. And so it had been a whole conversation around that, like, should and will they like just integrate our stories into Harlequin in general versus putting it in this little ghetto, you know?
Right, right.
Right. So we want to be on the regular Harlequin cover. We want to see like whether it's a plus size Black woman or an average size Black woman or whatever. You know, we want to see that we have these lives that are worth like injecting love into. Our love lives are worthy of like celebration and being in these books that we obviously devour, right?
Right, right.
So
Absolutely. Yeah, we're in this interesting moment. I have a friend who's a literary agent, and she has been talking about this particular moment, of course, in publishing, and how the light is being shined on how much we are not yet. So everybody's sort of, I don't want to say scrambling, but sort of trying to figure out like what they can do now, and how it is, you in there.
and it's interesting because like there's the moment that's happening now around like George Floyd and around social justice in general, and about how we're fighting for like the most basic things like to live, right?
Right.
And then so you see people people see all of a sudden, oh, there are all these perfume ads here, and we don't see a Black woman or a Black man in them at all of a sudden, like, because even here in Spain I'm seeing ads with Black people, and before it was just like never, right?
Wow.
So that's been interesting, seeing this sort of like superficial level of it.
Yes.
Killed, because obviously like since all that happened back a few months ago, the numbers are still climbing, the names are still being called and being, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So in publishing, they're responding in a way, but at the same time, with Corona being Corona and the industry sort of like suffering, many industries, many businesses suffering. And so the talk now is like with even, how do you say, like big name authors suffering with like, I think the people are talking about paper isn't available and publication dates are being pushed and all these different things. So with all these happening with big name authors, what's going to happen with the debut authors of color? What's going to happen with people who are like me, mid-list and lower, who had books coming out regularly and whose book publication dates are like pushed and pushed and pushed? What is that? Like, so it's an interesting moment. It's a very interesting moment. It's chaotic, and the industry is definitely much affected.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I noticed that a lot of your books, and we're going to get into the books, but I noticed as you're talking about the lack of paper, which is interesting, but I noticed a lot of your books are ebooks. So are they both ebooks and paper books, or do you just do mostly Yeah, talk about that a little bit.
I do both. I do both.
Okay.
I do self-publishing, and I work with other publishers with like, whoever. Work with me, and I love it.
Yeah.
So even looking at my own independent book sales, the majority of my book sales are ebooks.
Right.
I would say like, I don't know, like 90% of the books that I sell are an ebook format. I mean, maybe part of that now is because of, the Corona, no one wants to go to bookstores are closed, blah, blah, blah. But even before then, ebooks were just a majority of my sales.
Right.
And, I think I had one title that was ebook only, but I've always done ebook.
Right, absolutely. So getting back to your books, so you are a Jamaican-born artist, writer. You're writing about queer, lesbian relationships in the Black community. Sometimes that can be, like, ooh, what's going on? It's taboo. So tell me, when you were starting to write these books, was there some pushback in terms of like your community, or were people like, yay? Or was it a little like, ooh, girl, what you doing?
Interesting, because like my community, like from when I came out in college, has always been like Black queer or queer. So except for family, and in my Jamaican family, we don't talk about anything that's really, really like important, at least not to the person who you have the issue with, or who you might have the friction with. So it's like maybe there's like, well, that Fiona, blah, blah, but there was no conversation like, what are you doing? Like, take
Mm.
up or whatever. So, having been like surrounded by this Black queer community since I came out, it was like, oh, yes, write more, do this, do that, you know? But yeah, my family is like, what are you talking about? I don't, what do you do? You're what? Oh, I did not know. Oh, okay. Like known but unspoken. Like
Yes.
not too much.
Yes.
Oh,
Absolutely. So let's get into your latest book, A Lover's Mercy. And is that the second book is that like the follow-up to The Power of Mercy? Is that okay, so tell me about that character because I think she's a lesbian superhero, yes?
yes, yes. So the two books, like Power of Mercy is from Mai's perspective, and she's like the superhero, troubled family, troubled past, and she wants to save the world and save people, and she's very altruistic and awesome. And A Lover's Mercy is from her girlfriend's perspective, and she's not so
Mhm.
altruistic, and she's not a hero, but she loves Mai, and that's like her big. That's almost her superpower. She's like, I could be a bad person, but I love this good woman. So I guess it's like goodness by osmosis. I don't know. But
Right.
yeah, they're superheroes, or they're both like both have powers, and they save people, and they battle, like they have family issues all the time, not all the time, but the Mai's thing, she has a lot of family issues, and then they just love each other so much. In the first one, it was an enemies to lovers sort of relationship with them. They were like, oh, you're a bad person, but you're so sexy. So that whole dynamic in the first book, and the second book is them together, but then fighting the world, as it were.
Right, absolutely. And what drew you to creating the superhero? I mean, we all need them, but what was that thing of like, you know what? I think it's time.
Well, it's interesting because the publisher that I'm doing those with, Ilva out of Germany, they just started a series on superheroes, and I have always been like a huge superhero fan. And so when I saw their call, I was like, this could be amazing. This could be something really awesome, because yeah, there are a few superheroes of color, Black superheroes here and there, but oftentimes they're not in the center. You know what I mean? Like when they're like, oh yes, it's, I don't know, Superman and Batman and whatever. And so it's rare, except for in Black Lightning, to see a queer female superhero.
Hmm.
So I think obviously there needs to be more. And
Hmm.
I just was inspired by that idea and that spark, and just like, okay, I can do it. I want to do it. Let's do it.
Right, absolutely. And how's that been received for you? Have you gotten a lot of great feedback from folks about seeing that character?
It's been good. It's been good. I think a lot of it though is like, people used to me writing a certain type of story,
Mm.
more sensual, more sexy, more sort of like I guess almost like everyday women, everyday queer people, like interacting and having lots of sex and having lots of like,
Right.
drama. And so it's a very different type of novel. So I think for some people it's a harder sell because you're just not used to it. You know what I mean?
Got
And
it.
so I have some other readers coming at it from their interest in superheroes. And
Mm.
so they
Hmm.
my work in that regard. And so the other people are like, I'll see, maybe.
So in a way, you're kind of expanding your audience.
I hope so. I hope so.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's the trick thing in, but like I really love these characters, and I love
Mhm.
like they're just so enthusiastic about the powers that they have and like the change that they're making in the world, at least in their world, and like yeah, it's good to even see representation in that way for a lot of the readers who reached out to me. So yes, so far so good.
Right. Do you feel like this particular series of books will be have another, or you think like these are the two for that, and then you'll maybe move on to something, still maybe in that vein of, supernatural superhero, but maybe something different?
I honestly don't know. I mean, I've had people say, I want to see a third book in this series. I want to see these women again. And I'm doing a short story now that is about them. But it's just
Mm.
about, how the creativity and the demand and lots of things come together. Paranormal, though, I love it. Whether it's about superheroes or vampires or whatever.
Right.
So I can see it being a revisit, but we'll just see in general because so many things are about the market, you know?
Absolutely.
And
And
yeah.
I know, right. And I know you had another series. I'm not sure if this is the only other one, the How Sweet It Is series. And how many were in that series?
Okay, so every day it changes. I actually was up late last night, early this morning, sort of thinking about a rebrand of another book it's separate from that, but one of the characters from the House Beat series is in that book, so I'm gonna integrate it into that series. So technically, there are 4.25 books.
Okay.
Wait,
Absolutely.
3.25, 3.25. And
Yeah.
so I have another full length plan for sure. And
Hmm.
so now I'm going to have another one and be trying to and putting that into the series itself. So yeah, it's about these queer people in Miami who are just enjoying life, enjoying each other, exploring sexuality, exploring what it means to be queer in that big city and what it means to be family and friends.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I know the book that's forthcoming is Femme Like Her, correct?
Yes, it is from
Okay.
like her. And oh, I need to practice how to even describe it because it's just I don't know. It's just a woman who's been told all her queer life that like butches and femmes belong together,
Mm.
and so she's really into this other femme, but she's had this sort of like chat in the back of her mind and it, with some former friends that you just don't do that, you know. Either you're a butch femme or you're like not a real queer, you know.
Yeah.
So there's that, and she's got Jamaican parents who are meddling in her life, and she's got this wild butch stud best friend who's just kind of crazy and
Mhm.
does things. So yeah, it doesn't sound very exciting right now. But I'm like, oh, this fam who likes fams. I don't know. Ugh.
I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is.
I mean, I hope that I'm conveying something positive about this book.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love it though. I mean, she races her Camaro, and her mom is kind of like, you know, kind of cold in a sense,
Hmm.
but they have to sort of to like rediscover their relationship, and her father is like she's like a daddy's girl in a way too.
Well, you
So
said she races her Camaro. You mean like she's actually a racer or like she's just a street racer?
it's like street racing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
It's her therapy too. So it's not
Yes.
like, you know, I'm gonna go and, you know, cheat death in these windy roads or whatever, but it's
Yeah, yeah.
like that too.
Right, right. I got it. Absolutely.
Have to
Um,
sell a little bit better.
and that book is coming out in December?
December the
Okay.
8th.
In
Yeah.
December the 8th. Okay, awesome. And just I'll go back there actually. I know you said you're on a lot of deadline. I know you're laughing at you said that you're on a lot of deadline. So I'm gonna ask because you're writing. So what's forthcoming or what are you working on?
So I just finished a book that is tentatively called The House of Agnes.
Hmm.
And it's about a madam who falls for a reporter who's infiltrating her escort agency to bring the escort agency down. And so, you know, it's one of those like enemies to lovers kind of things, and lots of drama.
Right.
Yeah, that make it sound fun, but
That does sound fun. No, that does sound fun. No, you just said you had lots of deadlines. I was pausing because I thought you were going to say something else. That's all.
I mean, deadlines all over the place. I mean, I just turned that in. I got to finish the story in about 4 days and turn that in. I mean,
So tell me, what are you doing for your self-care?
nothing. I'm actually baking a lot. I'm baking too much, and
Mm.
and I think I've gained like I don't know. My arms are like the how I can tell. I'm baking a lot, so that's my big thing. I'm baking, cooking a little bit, but baking so much.
Yeah, yeah. How long have you been in Spain and what took you there? Why did you decide to make that move? Because you were here in the States before, correct?
Yes, yes. I
Okay.
got here officially in January,
Okay.
uh,
Wow.
but I have been coming back and forth for like 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah, initially came here because I've always had this passion for the language, for Spanish, and
Mm-hmm.
get a bit in high school, and then took it a bit, different meetup groups and things like that, and then finally, when did this happen? I think like I went through this whole cancer deal like 10 years ago, and so
Mm.
after dealing with that, and I came to the other end of it to my surprise and happiness, obviously. I was like, what are the things that I've always wanted to do, but just never have done or started to do because of either fear or because saying it's impossible or whatever. And so one of them was learning how to swim, and another one of them was learning Spanish. And a few other things that I can't remember right now. Hopefully, I've done them though.
Right.
But I did take my swimming lesson, so I can swim a little bit. And then, yeah, I wanted to immerse myself for a few months in the Spanish language in a Spanish-speaking country. And so I had thought about Mexico because it's cheaper.
Right.
But then a friend of mine was living here, and they said, "Oh, come and check it out here and see what you think." And I did, and I'm here.
Right. And what a time, because like you said, you went in January, and of course, there was no idea that we would be
None,
where we are right now. Yeah.
absolutely none. I'm missing my best friend's birthday. I miss my mom's birthday. A few other things. I'm just like, and I'm not getting on a plane anytime soon. Like,
Right.
just
Right.
not do it.
Right. Right. Right.
But yeah, this virus has changed a lot for many, many people, and for me, the big thing is just travel.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think all of us had, at least from I know for myself, I know for my friends, a lot of people, my friends were having big birthdays this year, and everybody was like, oh, we're traveling here, we're traveling there, I mean, it was like every place from like, South Africa to Amsterdam to Brazil, and everybody's canceled.
Like nothing,
Yeah.
nothing. Yeah.
Yeah. Done. So it's been very much a Zoom party kind of year.
Lots of wine.
And lots of wine. Absolutely. Well, I want to thank you so much because it's been really great talking to you and learning about your work. And now that I mean, I have to be honest, I didn't really know a lot about your work before, but now that I know, I'm definitely going to go check it out. I mean, just because and that's saying nothing about what you're doing because honestly, like I said, like you've written what, like 30 books or something crazy like that.
30 plus as Fiona Zedde and Lindsay Evans both. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, and that's amazing. Like, I mean, that's nothing to sneeze at. And I'm really like, I'm giving you real props and real kudos because that's real. You know what I'm saying?
It's been an amazing ride. Like even when the idea of writing for the company that I grew up reading was just like mind blowing.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's been a journey.
Yeah,
I'm very
absolutely. Yeah. So, just so folks can find your books is like anywhere books are sold, or like as the Amazon, Kindle, all those places.
all those places. iTunes, iBooks, Amazon, Karis Books and More in Atlanta. They ship everywhere.
Okay.
But everything is that I have is in ebook form, so you can get instant gratification by just like clicking online. And my website, FionaZedde.com. And of course, I have a Amazon author page as well. So yeah, everywhere. And I'm on Instagram too.
All right. Are you on Instagram as Fiona Zedde?
Yeah.
Okay. And your Harlequin novels, you said Lindsay Evans?
Lindsay Evans, yes.
Okay.
SAYEVANS.
I'm sure Google will find you.
Yes, I'm like, it's been a day already. It's been a day.
Yeah. Absolutely. So for all our folks out there, if you want to see all the works across the board from Fiona, aka Lindsay, you can find her anywhere books are sold. So get your romance on. We need that, especially right now in COVID times. Get your fantasy on.
Absolutely. We all need it. I need it.
Absolutely, absolutely. So thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your evening. And it's been really wonderful talking to you and getting to know you. And
And
all
this was
the
fun. Thank you. Thank you.
you're so welcome and all the success in the world to you going forward.
Thanks. And be safe out there.
Thank you. You too.
All right.
All right. Good
Ciao.
night.